What is going down, YouTube? It is your boy Danny G TV in the house. The Warriors were not able to get the job done Friday night at Chase Center, so they take the I-80 up to Sacramento to the Golden One Center for Game 7, which will be played in about 12 hours from when I'm recording this video. By the way, they already took their bus up to Sacramento. They're spending the night, and then Game 7 at 12:30. Now, as a sports fan, there is nothing better in a playoff series than a Game 7 if you're not rooting for the team. If you don't have a particular rooting interest in either team, or maybe you're rooting for one team over the other a little bit, but they're not your team, so you want the series to go as long as possible. And that's what everyone who's watching this series who isn't a fan of either team was definitely rooting for, because this series has been absolutely fucking epic. Definitely the best series, the best first round series in this entire NBA playoffs, without a doubt. So a lot of sports fans are definitely rooting for this series to go to 7 games because of how much of an incredible series it's been. But when it's your team, you never root for a Game 7. You always root for your team to sweep, to win it in 5, which is considered a gentleman's sweep, or win it in 6. You never root for your team to win it in 7. But Game 7s, there's nothing better in sports than a winner-take-all Game 7. And this Warriors squad with Steph, Clay, and Draymond, they're 2-2 in Game 7s. Their first Game 7 was in 2014, 9 years ago, against the Clippers, where they lost to the Clippers. That was when Mark Jackson was still the head coach. And then, fast forward 2 years later, the defending champion Warriors, winning their first championship the year before with that squad, find themselves down 3-1 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They come back, force Game 7, and they win Game 7. But then the next round, they find themselves up 3-1. And then the Cavs come back, and they force a Game 7. And then, well, the rest is history. LeBron and the Cavs knock off the Warriors. And then, fast forward 2 years later, 2018, the Warriors find themselves in a Game 7 against the Houston Rockets, where they get the win. Now, one advantage the Kings might have to that is Mike Brown, of course, was the assistant coach to Steve Kerr from 2016 up until last year when we won our 4th ring. So Mike Brown is going to know how Steve Kerr prepares his team for a Game 7 and how he coaches for a Game 7. So that's one thing the Warriors should definitely be aware of. But, hey, if the Warriors just do what they did in Game 5, stay in the game, limit the turnovers, get off to a lead, and don't let the Kings come back, they can win in Game 7. And, of course, in Game 5, Kevon Looney just kept getting rebound after rebound after rebound. Draymond had a very rare 21-point game. It was actually the first 20 or more point game he's had since the Christmas Day game in 2019-2020 season, when the Warriors were just absolutely horrible and had won 17 games or whatever. Draymond has not had a 20 or more game since then. And of course, Draymond, we all know what happened before the season started. That whole incident with Jordan Poole, that was awful. That shit was fucking awful. But of course, Draymond has definitely redeemed himself this season. And in this postseason, despite getting suspended and all that, Draymond's just been an incredible force for this series. So if you can get Draymond going offensively again, the Kings are definitely going to have a lot to worry about. Now, in Game 6, there was a 5 o'clock start. The Warriors may have been a little bit less prepared for that. They just played a sloppy game. And they were at home, and they played like they did this season on the road for a lot of their games. And of course, the Warriors this season in general are 11-30 on the road, the worst road record for any defending NBA champion. So I'll even admit, if the Warriors were playing the Grizzlies in this first round, of course the Grizzlies, stupidly enough, are in the Western Conference, and if they had to travel all the way to Memphis for this Game 7, I would not predict us to win. I would not predict us to win it. But since they only had to take an hour and a half bus ride up the I-80 to Sacramento, and they already won in Game 5, they technically won more recently at Golden One Center than the Kings did, then I say the Warriors, I say they got this. But it's not going to be an easy game. It's not going to be a blowout. I'm shocked that Game 6 was... Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if the Kings did win Game 6, even though I did predict us to close it out at home and on Friday night. I am still shocked that it was an absolute blowout. And, of course, the Warriors had absolutely no answer for De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. And I got to give credit to De'Aaron Fox because, of course, De'Aaron Fox injured his finger in Game 4. It looked like he might not have even played Game 5. And, of course, I made a video before Game 5 saying that, hey, the Warriors are going to have to take advantage of the fact that De'Aaron Fox has an injured finger and won't be 100%. The Warriors need to take advantage of that. But, hey, De'Aaron Fox just absolutely did his thing. He's been incredible this entire series, and the fact that he's playing injured, just more props to him for that. He's becoming a superstar this postseason. In fact, hey, 10 years ago, 2012, 2013, that's when Steph Curry finally got himself on the map. And that's when the Warriors, of course, won their first playoff series. Well, they made the playoffs for the first time, as a matter of fact, with the trio. Or even with just Steph. Because, of course, Steph was on the Warriors since 2009. And they never sniffed the playoffs. And, hey, so De'Aaron Fox, he's reminded, and don't get me wrong, De'Aaron Fox obviously is never going to be Stephen Curry, ever. But De'Aaron Fox, him being a rising superstar right now, reminds me a lot of how Steph was 10 years ago. And the Kings overall, this Kings team overall reminds me of how the Warriors were 10 years ago. And hey, it's going to be a hostile ass environment. The Kings, of course, this is their first playoff series in 17 years. Their Golden One Center has just been an absolute fantastic environment altogether. It is not an easy place to play. It's a hostile environment, but the Warriors were able to do it in Game 5, and I expect them to do it again in Game 7. Another thing, limit those fucking turnovers. Turnovers have absolutely killed the Warriors in this series. And so, hey, I'll just say this. If the game starts off like it did in Game 6, where the Kings were able to take an 8-0 lead, and the Warriors are not going to win the game. I predict that we will win this Game 7 and will advance to the second round. But we cannot let the Kings go off to a great start. The start of the game is going to be what matters the most. How the Warriors start off this game is what is going to be the biggest factor in this game overall. And they really cannot have that many turnovers. Hopefully, no more than 1 or 2 turnovers in the entire fucking game. You know, because the turnovers just absolutely killed them. Another thing, Jordan Poole needs to have a big game. He has not had, these last 2 games for him have not been good. We need to see playoff Jordan Poole from last year again in Game 7. Absolutely. We need to. And Steph and Clay need to like, Steph needs to continue having a 30-point. He needs to have another 30-point game. Clay needs to have at least 20 points. And Andrew Wiggins, I would say, needs to have at least 15 points also. But I'm really expecting that to happen because they've been on a roll this series. The fact that Andrew Wiggins has been able to be a big contributing factor in this series when before this series he hasn't played in over 20 games, that's pretty damn impressive. It is. But hey, I cannot wait for this. It's going to be so epic. Game 7s, there's nothing better than them. Hey, Kings fans, you've had a hell of a year. Mike Brown deservedly won Coach of the Year. The first anonymous Coach of the Year of all time. He has deserved that without a doubt. But you're still facing the defending NBA champions. And that means that you guys are going to fucking lose. So that's all I got. Danny G is out. Peace!